Hey, greetings and welcome to Code Cooking. Today we're going to be looking at creating shortcuts with Google Drive API. So most importantly, like, share, and subscribe. But most importantly, please reach out to me in the comments. I'm going to put a link to the lab in the video description. Also want to reach out to the comments as you guys work with me, as I also work with you as we go on this journey for our get certified in Google Drive. Happy holidays to everyone. Happy holidays to everyone. And we are back on the track of Google Drive. Internship success is going well. Projects are really coming along when it comes to job prospects. Obviously, making the documentation on a Google API certainly goes a long way, and I intend to continue that to completion. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Angular. Right, Angular is on its way up. React is on the way down. In terms of web design, Angular is the platform to use, especially when you're using Google Google Drive, when you're using Google Google Cloud Platform APIs. Angular is the way you want to go. So let us get started with this lab today. There's a little tongue twister there. Definitely feel like I'm getting more confident doing these videos. All right, so first thing we want to do, we want to go ahead and we want to be able to download the web app. We want to go ahead and grab the Drive app, whether you want to go ahead and SSH, right? What I like to do is I like to download the zip. I don't want any issues. I don't want any configuration issues. Dealing with Git, the less I have to deal with, the better, right? So now we want to go ahead and do after like so, right? End of the lab, we should look like source app directive, shortcut directive, dot final, dot ts, right? It wants us to look like that file at the end of the lab. And say if we have, for example, I think I always had this, that there is a start. Say if we run the lab, you can always go ahead from the start again. So or what you can do is just download, look for the file in the GitHub directory, and like so. So after we download, we want to go to do is the directory root. We want to head over to the directory root and then run this command, right? C equals shortcut, and just for fun, let's open equals true, right? Let that build, right? And meanwhile, while that is building, right, we want to go ahead and do is set up our credentials. So what we want to go ahead and do is we want to head over to console.developers.google.com. Let's go ahead and, well, I have my credentials created already, but for the sake of everyone, let me just go ahead and do this again. Toss these credentials. Not that painful to create here. Right, you want to go ahead and create an API key. Right, I want to copy their API key, and then we want to go ahead over into our environment. Right, we want to go ahead into our environment, and we just want to put down the API key like so. And we want to go ahead and restrict the key. So while we're having these, right, we can only if someone was ever to gain access, right, what we would end up having is their access only to Google Drive, and then more so on the scopes that you want to be able to create, right? So our Angular app was able to come on, and kind of interfered with our process with making credentials. So next we want to do, we want to make an OAuth client ID, right? And then want to provide for a web application. The name is okay, but the important part is the URL, right? Since we're working with localhost 8000, right? We're going to use localhost 8000. I should really change this to 4200 because 8000 is the commonly used port. We're going to go ahead and create that. See, this OAuth application is really just domain lock when you're really adding that URL that it's allowed to work on. So what we want to do is we want to take the client ID, we want to paste it in our environment folder, our environment file. You don't have to worry about the secret for these projects. And for most of the labs that we're going to do with the Drive API, we're just going to be able to use we're going to be able to use the client email and not that ID that you see. So after we go ahead and set up the credentials, right, we're ready to connect to the API. So what we're going to do, right, you're just going to click this button, aka help us log in. Then before I click the button, right, there, Rusty. right? I'm going to go ahead and paste my credentials so my Anchor app can know about them. It's got to change to EMV. Going to change that in the docs in a bit, right? And then what we want to go ahead and do is we want to just give her a chance to log, right? And what we need to do in order to log in, we need to be able to load the auth SDK, giving the end user access to our app. So once this is set up, right, we are ready to go ahead and sign in like so. So you go want to go back and head back to the app and click this button in order to sign in. Right, so this is important, right? All right, we want to confirm our choices, right? We're also going to get a dialogue that's saying if the app is unsafe, do you trust the developer? This is not verified. You trust it because this is your app that you're actually creating, right? I don't really have access. You're going to see your email there, right? Once you provide yourself access from console.developers, right? This is your app that you're creating, no one else. Okay, and then if you're interested, like in order to delete the application, you just go ahead and delete that OAuth 2.0 client ID. That's really what this application, that's really what it's referring to, right? So we're going to go ahead, see these scopes right here, like these scopes are from earlier, right? The scopes that we need for this lab is we need the auth, we need this scope right here, right? I'm gonna also post the link to the various scopes that are available just in case that you have issues, that you see errors in your code, which talking about insufficient scopes, right? So you want to be able to allow these permissions to go through, and like that, we are logged in. Right, so here's our drive. Here's the drive that we're going to be working with today. It's just an empty drive. Where what's going to happen is that we're going to have to get this set up. You can't just start uploading files immediately because we just need shortcuts or shortcuts to files. Shortcuts can't be standalone. So what we're going to end up doing now is right in this code for create a shortcut. Right, we're going to copy. We're going to first put it over into an environment folder, and then we want to go ahead and we want to update the shortcut object right here, right? You know, all those other objects are for wells that we're working with throughout, like so. We update our shortcut object, like so. I head back to our directive. We create a shortcut. We're gonna go ahead and paste this code. And we want to go ahead and do is we want to go ahead and comment that code first. Interesting, right? And we don't want to forget our authorization step. I seem to have left that out, but I was able to put that in. Right. So now what we want to do, right? We want to provide for we want to set up an environment, and we're going to take a look. If we want to take a quick look, right? All we see here is that we create that shortcut folder, and then we upload our files, right? We upload our files to that shortcut folder, right? And then important thing I want to point out, this is 10 megabytes, right? Because a byte is actually 8, 12 in the math is interested, but this actually represents 10 megabytes, right? Over that, what will happen, we can end up crashing the browser if you try to read like a gigabyte file in there. That's why I put that limit there. So what we want to do, we want to go ahead, want to give the upload button, right? We want to just go ahead and upload some of our files here. And upload these files, and let's go ahead and create that shortcut. Right, good. Right, so now we should see in our drive, what we should have is our shortcut folder, and then we should have a bunch of files in there. Great. So after that, what we want to go ahead and do is we want to go ahead and pass this out. We only want this to happen once. We do not need it anymore. Right. So in our code, right, and choose a file for a shortcut, what we want to do in our code, we want to copy and paste this line of code, right? This will allow the app to choose a random file to make a shortcut out of. Okay, and now we go ahead and make a shortcut with this command, So what we have is a lot of async going on right now, because just to find that file, I think it's going to be an async process, right? Just to make that HTTP request. And once it finds and chooses a target file, right, it's going to take that result and it's going to make a shortcut, as you can see. So this is all set up. What we can do now is we go and create a shortcut. Right, and we see that our responses here, and then we might put in a little UI to show that a shortcut was created. We didn't do that here, right? We have our shortcut, right, and we can see, right, and then we can see that in the response, and then we can see if we can head back to the root, because that's where it's placed, that we have a shortcut, and a shortcut referring to another part, right? As you can see, very nice, very nice. So that's what we created a shortcut in Google Drive API. Basically, we want to make a REST API call with the URL, right? The body, and right, the HTTP headers, and then obviously don't worry about this. This is an Angular feature, right? But it allows us to see the whole response instead of the response body, right? We get to see the headers, the response headers that we get back. We get to see the status, that, and the third, right? So now, say for example, we want to look for shortcuts, right? What we want to go ahead and do is we want to take this object, we want to go back into our environment, and we're going to copy and paste like so. Right, okay, it's false. And now we want to take this code, we want to head back over to our shortcut. And now what we would like to do is run that code, right? So as it updates, right? So we see a button, create a shortcut, but really want to go ahead and search for a shortcut, right? Now what we get back as a response is my shortcut, and then we could also have shortcut details, right? We get to see the file that's referring to, and then the line type if needed. So if need be, right, say for example, we had several shortcuts, right? We could also specify the shortcut in the query parameter. We could see shortcut details, target line type, or specify the line type, which is application PDF or PDF, that and the third. But this is how it ultimately gets set up. So that is our lab for working with shortcuts in Google Drive API. Once again, please like, share, and subscribe. And most important, reach out to me in the comments. Always love to assist, and I always love to receive assistance as we go on our journey for Google Drive Cloud Platform certifications, right? And most importantly, I'll leave a link to the lab in the video description. Thanks for watching.